Something people, I think, have forgotten, not everybody, but some people have forgotten, is that when you're writing or speaking, you need to pick an audience. You need to know who that audience is, and you need to choose your words in a way that those words will resonate or make sense to the audience you're speaking to. And perhaps your message is also only for certain people. I mean, we're not all giving the Sermon on the Mount, giving advice to all people for all time. Usually we're giving specific information, specific comfort to specific people, right? Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist, and the people he helps largely are, this is going to shock you, disaffected white men. The words he's giving to his audience are generally the things that are going to help his audience of disaffected white men. It's encouragement and comfort and recontextualization of the world around them and their concerns. If you have different concerns than you think that disaffected white men have, then Jordan Peterson's words aren't going to resonate with you at all, and in fact will likely clash with your entire philosophy. If perhaps you're worried about paying rent, if perhaps you're worried about, being held down by systemic racism, if you're worried about, whether or not to raise your own child that you're carrying inside your womb, he's not talking to you. He's talking to men who have not had a strong figure in their life tell them to clean their room, tell them they're important, tell them their impulses are natural and serve a function, to tell them that they are necessary, and it's good that there are people like them in the world. Men aren't given that lesson by very many others these days. It's very popular to tell them that they need to stop being like men and start being like women, and that's ridiculous. And that's it. That's his message. He's telling men that they don't need to be docile. He's telling men that they don't need to be meek and toothless and agreeable, to be necessary and important in this world. You can have your impulses and personality that's common. You can be, the 50% median of the bell curve of men. You can be right down the middle, and that's fine. You don't have to be an extremely passive or an extremely aggressive. In fact, both of those extremes are difficult to manage in society. It's actually better if you're the average kind of man, and it's okay to know what the average kind of man is like. It's okay to know that they act in a very stereotypical way. Is there toxic masculinity? Yes. See frat boys destroying houses in a drunken rage and raping women. That's toxic as fuck. Is there toxic unmasculine men? Yes. There are men who aren't manly enough, and they don't fill their role in society, and they're being rewarded for shifting in that direction, away from the median, not away from the extreme of the frat boys in a drunken rampage destroying property and raping women. Not moving from that extreme, but moving away from the average towards unmasculinity at all. It's okay to notice that, it's okay to worry about that, and it's okay to reinforce to men who have entirely problems within their own control to solve. We're not talking about men with external problems like systemic racism or poverty or debilitating illnesses. We're not talking about that. We're talking about men who can solve their own problems but won't because they don't feel they should have to. He's telling them to grow up and handle their own problems and stop masturbating themselves into depression. So if you don't need to hear that, whatever the fuck, don't listen to this therapist. He's not your therapist. He's the therapist to these other guys that are being told to stop being manly and masturbate themselves into depression instead of, doing generally masculine things like being disagreeable, standing up for themselves, trying to build something, taking responsibility for other people and themselves. That's manly. It's not womanly. We're not saying women can't do that. We're not saying it's not a great attribute for anyone to have. We're just saying if you're born to be like this and it's good for you, try it.